Hi there, it's me, Nancy. This week's topic is confrontation in arguments and all of those sorts of lovely things, especially when it comes to relationships. But really, relationships, any type of relationships, right? But we're going to talk about making sure that when we're in a disagreement, we're actually talking about the thing that will make a difference and matter. Let me say that again. When you find yourself in a disagreement, it's so important to find the actual topic of the disagreement, not, and it may not be what you think. So, spoiler alert, disagreements about money are not about money. Disagreements about sex are not about sex. Disagreements about, whatever, if we should go on vacation or not, is not about if we should go on vacation or not, right? The subject matter is usually not the core of the issue. And so what we're going to talk about today are what are the three things that we're really talking about. Okay, Nance, so if it's not money and it's not sex and it's not vacation, what is it? Here's what it is. There are three things to investigate to see what the actual underlying issue is. And also, another sign that it's not about the subject matter is if you're arguing about other things too, right? Like if it's more than one subject matter that you are having conflict with. But even if it is one subject matter, we still need to look at these three things. So here we go. The first thing to look at are what are your values when it comes to this subject? And because that can that can differ. We all have core values that are attached to us and us as a person and all of those sorts of things. And then we also have additional values that are associated with different domains of life. So you may have, again, you'll have your core values that flow through all your domains, but you'll also have some other values that are only for one domain or another, or stronger in one area or another, right? Like you may not have the same exact values for your relationship with God or spirituality as you might have with making money, right? So really looking at what are your values when it comes to this topic. And if we listen hard enough, we can find out what the values are of the other person too. But noticing that, is it in fact a difference in how we want to do this thing, or is it a difference in values that are showing up? So for instance, if I'm valuing security and you're valuing adventure, our vacations are going to look very different. The way that we spend money is going to look very different. And so it's important to get down to what are my values when it comes to this, what are your values, and then that way you're actually talking about one of the roots of the issue. So establishing and talking about the values when it comes to that domain of life is your first tip. Another thing that can be getting in the way, that can be causing these arguments, not the topic itself, but underlying issues, are differences in beliefs. So what are your core beliefs about this topic? And that it's important for us to challenge those beliefs as well. I know that I've made videos on this in the past, and I probably will in the future, because that can be a tricky navigation to challenge your own beliefs to see if they're valid for you or not. But keeping that in mind of making sure, first of all, you know what they are. Make sure you're spending enough time with yourself, looking at this topic and what you're thinking and noticing, like, how often are the thoughts going to how much the other person sucks versus this is what I believe and this is what's being challenged. Someone is going against my belief about this thing, bringing the focus to yourself, right? So the first thing is differences in values. The second thing is differences in beliefs. And the third thing is let's figure out what our feelings are. Let's really, really tap into, because also noticing that your emotions and your feelings, they're going to give you a little bit of an insight into what your beliefs and what your values are. And guess what? That means the other person's emotions are going to give you an insight into what their beliefs and what their values are. So get past the conversation about how much the other person sucks, get past the right fighting, and really dig into how does this make you feel? It makes me feel like you're being a jerk is not an answer to that question. When we're talking about feelings, we're talking about actual emotions. Label the emotions that you're feeling. Ask them to label the emotions they are feeling. And when those feelings come in, what part of the conversation are we starting to feel these big feelings or small feelings? They will give you an insight into those first two differentiators of beliefs or values. So the three things when you're really, really in conflict, the three things to remember is, again, putting the mirror on yourself first, but that's step one in everything we do, right? Step one is always, always, always take the focus away from the other person and bring it back on me, and then start to define for myself, what are my values around this? What are my beliefs around this? And using my emotions and feelings, what are my feelings about this? And that will help me identify what those beliefs and values are. As always, let me know what you think. Let me know what you want me to talk about next. And also let me know if you're interested in a free session of maybe trying to pick apart some of these things. So for anyone that's open to it, I am absolutely looking for some volunteers to maybe join me on some of these calls so that people can see this in action. And guess what? Free coaching session. Nothing wrong with that, right? So be in contact with me. Let me know what's up. Let me know your questions. If you don't want to be actively coached, give me your problems. Give me your things that you want me to address here. I am here to help you in any way that I can. Have a wonderful week, and I will see you next week. Bye.